What up and welcome to the Golden Era. We've got a full draft episode coming up right now. We've got the draft lottery. We'll take you through the pre, the post of that. We'll take you through the first round. We'll see and talk about the first 10 picks or so. Of course, the Golden State Warriors. This is, after all, the Golden Era. They've got 2 second-round picks. Plus, we're going to let you know who are the prospects, who should we be paying attention to in this here 2035 NBA draft. Let's do it. All right, let's start with who you should care about. And now you can head on over to OS, Operation Sports. We've got the full draft guide. We've got the draft confidential. All of them up there if you want a deeper dive on every single prospect. We're going to be talking high-level ones. Let's start with the All-NBA guys. There's 4 of them. 4 guys that if you talk to any NBA scout, they have that All-NBA upside. The Athletic calls that Tier 1 guy. There's 4 of them. Big man Kaleem Freeman, he's the center out of South Carolina. BJ Banks out of Drexel. He's a talented two-way guard, good scorer, 3-level guy. Alexander Swift, the 5th out of Kansas. Really nice scorer with the basketball in his hands, very explosive athletically. And then O.J. Robertson out of Miami. He's a very, very good shot creator, 37% three-point shooter. Those are the guys that should go in some order, 1 through 4, is what pretty much everyone is expecting. If one of those 4 guys does not make it in that top 4, somebody down below is going to be getting very happy come draft day. There's 2 guys who slot in at that Tier 2 All-Star level. That's going to be Hector Ramirez out of Duke, big two-way forward, could play either of those forward spots. Very, very athletic, strong finisher inside. And then R.J. Ward out of UCLA, two-way wing. He's got a nice jump shot, a little bit of room to improve there, but lengthy, rangy is a guy that you look at athletically and feel pretty good about. There are a couple guys who could sneak into that conversation, which would be that Tier 3 level, the high-level starter guys. There's a couple of them to keep an eye on. One of them is Luis Alvarez. He's a guy that's been getting some momentum in draft circles. Young, can stretch the floor, decent shooter, 34% for Santa Clara. Didn't really play at that high level, which is probably the one big knock on him, but he can shoot the ball well from deep, and he's got a lot of defensive intelligence, able to kind of switch among perimeter wings, so he's probably a guy you can slot in at the 3 and the 4. I would expect you to hear a decent amount about a number of names. Let's go Sidney Hall, point guard out of Kentucky, a little bit smaller, good playmaker, had nearly 5 assists per game, doesn't shoot the ball great, just 29% from deep last season. Will Richardson is a talented two-way wing out of Vanderbilt, good scorer with the ball in his hands, can get inside. Brian Mathis is an undersized point guard coming out of Ohio, not Ohio State, but the Bobcats. If Brian Mathis can put together something really nice, playmaker with the ball in his hands, 5.2 assists per game, but where people are going to get a little nervous is how he fares on the defensive side of the ball. And then another name to keep an eye on that I would say is Marcus Lambert, Ole Miss forward, really good three-point shooter, 36%. He's bigger. You can put him in at the 3. You can put him in at the 4. If you are a team contending, you need another floor spacer, another wing in a wing-dominated league, that's where you're going to be finding a type of guy, Marcus Lambert, who could have a lot of them. Now, if you want more deep dive, all of that again over on OS, link in the bio. You can check out everything about these top prospects as far down as high-level starter level, even those fringe starters that we'll see later in the first round. Let's get to the lottery. So in the lottery, handful of names to keep an eye on, handful of teams to keep an eye on. Obviously at the top, who's going to get number 1? Teams with the best odds, Nuggets, Wizards, and Hawks all at 14%. Then the Pistons come in with the 4th best odds at landing the number 1 pick. There's one team, though, that's in fantastic position, and that is the Chicago Bulls. They own the Memphis Grizzlies' first-round pick from a Terrence Clarke trade seasons ago. And if they get into a top 5 with a team that just went to an NBA Finals, who had a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals, and they can't get it done there, they're going to get potentially another shot. They're the top 6. So if nobody jumps from behind them, the Chicago Bulls are in position to draft one of those all-star caliber guys on a roster that already features an all-NBA point guard in Javon Stokes, an all-star and all-NBA caliber forward in Dakota Motley, an elite big man in Cavante Kennard. The rich get richer in Chicago, and if you're the rest of the NBA, the only saving grace, if you would have one, is that Golden State took them down in the NBA Finals, which, if you are hating on the Golden State dynasty run, which is 4 championships in the last 5 years, you're well in your own rights to hate on it. This is the Chicago. This is the kryptonite to that, and they could be adding another great piece to an already young, talented roster. They're coming in with the 6th best odds. They're really the only notable one. The other teams that could be trading picks, The Pelicans, they own the Knicks pick at number 11 or 11th best odds coming in. And the Pelicans, if they don't land in the top 10, they're currently coming in at number 8. Their pick would go to the Golden State Warriors. If not, that transfers next season. The Warriors already have the Dallas Mavericks first-round pick. They could be adding the Pelicans first-round pick, which would be, just talk about the Bulls getting a little richer. The rich, somewhat rich in Golden State, championship rich in Golden State, have the first-round pick. So let's get to the lottery. Where does this all shake out? Well, just as a reminder here, top 16 teams in a 32-team league. So the top of this thing goes pretty much exactly as planned. The Jazz come in at number 16. The Rockets come in at number 15. The Venom and the Clippers go in at 14, 13. Cavs stay at 12. Pelicans stay at 11. Mavericks stay at 10. So the first 7 picks, 10 through 16, all goes exactly as planned. Things start to get a little wonky, or maybe they could be. At 9, the Trailblazers. That's a stay put. At 8, the Pelicans. That's a stay put. At 7, should be the Raptors, but it's not. The Raptors, a team that just traded away Jalen Justice last summer, that traded away Jacob Kuksix, the guy they got back for Jalen Justice last summer. They go from 7 into the top 4. But it gets worse for those teams in the top because the Chicago Bulls, by way of the Memphis Grizzlies, also move up into the top 4, going from number 6 into the top 4. We talked about it, the rich get richer, and the Bulls are going to get a chance to draft an all-NBA talented guy at the top of this draft. Coming in at number 7, so that's the Hawks go number 7. The Wizards fall from number 2 all the way down to number 6. What does that mean? That means the Sixers are also moving up. So the Raptors at 7, the Bulls at 6, and the Sixers at 5 all move up into the top 4. And then the Nuggets, who had the best odds, fall from number 1 down to number 5, which means the Pistons. They're going to move up into the top 4. From there, our play out. The Bulls land at number 4. They're going to get a chance at the worst of the 4 All-NBA guys if they so choose. The Sixers ending up at number 3. They've got Malik Hightower, talented forward who they took previously. They're going to be at number 3. The Pistons end up in that number 2 spot. They've already got Luis Kuzma at the 4. They've got Jan Giddens at the 3, talented 3-and-D wing. They got a chance to add another forward guard combo in that spot at number 2, and that of course means the Toronto Raptors end up at number 1. They're going to get a chance to completely overhaul this young roster. They're trying to build a piece. They had Jalen Justice, who they took first overall just about a decade ago. They're back in that number 1 spot ahead of a very pivotal draft. All right, the table's been set. We know who's picking and who's picking where. We know that there are 6 guys in this draft class that are all-star or all-NBA caliber. Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns. All right, number 1 pick. Everyone expects it to be Kaleem Ash-Freeman, the big man out of South Carolina. Is it going to be? No, it's not, because the Toronto Raptors have other ideas. They're going to take Alexander Swift, the 5th, out of Kansas. Very talented athlete, elite downhill scorer, very good defender, 6'6" wing. He can play the 2, he can play the 3. You have to love his upside. In a class where there was 4 guys who could be all NBA caliber, sure, you could sit here and say Ash Freeman, who had been the consensus number 1 in every single mock all season long. He was expected to be there. They go in an opposite direction. A league that's dominated by forwards. You look at the last couple champions, Warriors led by wings and guards. The Bulls, a pair of elite wings or scorers with the basketball. The Raptors say we've won it with Jalen Justice. We want to build another team. They're taking Alexander Swift, the 5th, with the 1st overall pick. Number 2, Detroit. They're on the clock and they say, hey, there was a guy that was supposed to go number 1 that's not going to. We'll take him. Kaleem Ash-Freeman to the Detroit Pistons. What does Ash-Freeman bring? Elite interior presence. 6'11". He's got a little bit of a stretch capability. Shot around 30% from deep in college. That doesn't mean he's definitely a stretch 5, but you look at the centers that can do that. He has all NBA defensive potential. This is a guy that can get into the paint. He can score. And now you've got, with Jan Giddens and Luis Kuzma, you now add an elite upside guy in Kaleem Ash-Freeman. You've got Leo Gibrod at the point guard position, who's young. Detroit, you have to feel really good about the upside for this team when they take Kaleem Ash-Freeman at number 2. Let's move to number 3. the 76ers. They've got Malik Hightower. They've got E.J. Clarkson, who they took second overall, bit of a stretch big a couple seasons ago. Where do they go? Hector Ramirez, the Duke forward, 6'9", talented pieces. He can get inside. He's one of the best non-centers in this draft. Intelligent with the basketball, can defend across the perimeter. Philadelphia and Detroit now in the Eastern Conference, if you're looking future, they have the pieces put together with just really talented 3, 4, 5 options, and the Sixers get in the mix. Hector Ramirez is going to be a problem. He's going to be an elite scorer, and now the 76ers have a guy that they can turn to alongside Malik Hightower. E.J. Clarkson's more ancillary score. Malik Hightower, about 20 points per game in his second season in the NBA. Hector Ramirez is a guy that might be able to slot in and do a lot of similar things. Let's get to number 4. We talked about the Chicago Bulls, this team that has all these pieces. Javon Stokes, Dakota Motley, Cavante Kennard, pick your poison. They have a chance to add B.J. Banks, an elite two-way guard. They could add R.J. Ward. They could add O.J. Robertson. Who do they add? Luis Alvarez, 6'9" forward out of Santa Clara. I'm not in love with this pick. There's a lot of good things about Alvarez. He's a really good scorer with the basketball. He's going to stretch the floor. But you've got Nico Romjak currently at the 4. You're not drafting for right now if you're Detroit, or excuse me, if you're Chicago. You're drafting for the future. And while Luis Alvarez gives you a little bit of upside in the long run, he does not bring the type of on-ball creation that you probably need. Now, you could be sitting there as Chicago and say, we don't need another on-ball creator. We've got Javon Stokes. We've got Dakota Motley. Aaron Larson has been a great spark plug scorer for us off the bench. Rowan Jameson has been great. Nico Romjak has been good. What we really need is a guy who can set up in the corner, who can hit threes, who can defend along the wing. That's what they really need. Alvarez is a versatile defender, and he does answer that kind of bell if you need one. They did not have a wing stopper. That was why they ended up blowing that 3-1 lead, and why they blew 3-1 leads in general in the playoffs. But this is not a big swing where if I'm Chicago, I'm taking every drop the shoulder, swing for the fences, attack that I can possibly get. They don't do that, but they end up with Luis Alvarez there at number 4. That's a bit of a surprise based off where this guy was expected to go, which was more in that 7 through 10 range. Let's get to 5. The Denver Nuggets. They've got nothing holding down. They took David Savage about 9 last season. This is a team that was supposed to be number 1. They fall to number 5, and they're going to be the beneficiaries of it. B.J. Banks out of Drexel, the 6'4" guard, spent a couple of years in college. This is a great pickup for Denver because you get one of those All-NBA guys that you thought you missed out on when you fell to number 5. It's a big swing. Banks is a great scorer with the basketball. They need something to build around, and Banks is the type of point guard, 2 guard. At 6'4", he can really play both of them. Good defender, great downhill attack capability, really polished. He's going to come in at 21. Maybe the upside isn't super high, but it's high enough, especially on the defensive end where he enters the league as what's really an All-NBA caliber, not All-NBA, an NBA caliber defender already at the number 5 spot. Let's go to number 6, the Washington Wizards. This is a team that for 5 seasons was one of the winningest teams in the NBA with Cole Anthony, Devin Anderson, Zane Bennett. This is a really good basketball team. They fell off a cliff last season, 19 wins. Really struggled in the Eastern Conference that has gotten deeper and deeper. What do? They take O.J. Robertson out of Miami, Florida, another talented guard to come out of the Hurricanes. You'll remember Damian Pack, who's now with the Miami Heat. 2 seasons ago, he ends up there. What is O.J. Robertson? One of the most complete guards in a very good guard wing league, or class, we should say. Great shooter from deep. He's got enough confidence already that he's going to be a respectable shooter right away. Might not be sniper game, but he's good enough to be capable right away. And then defense, competitive, physical. You're going to be getting a reliable defender. So the Washington Wizards add O.J. Robertson, a guy that probably slots in for many people very high on the board. 21 years old, been in Miami for a little bit, so that you might be capped on the upside, but O.J. Robertson entering at number 6 for the Washington Wizards. Let's get to the Hawks at number 7. I think the Hawks have actually put together a couple really nice drafts the last couple of years. They've filled out a roster that's got a lot of talent to it, so what do? They're going to add R.J. Ward, 6'7" wing out of UCLA. He was, according to Cam Rossini, who was with The Athletic, their scout guru, number 2 in terms of prospect ranking. Great value to get Ward at number 7. A bit of a fall, a surprising fall from R.J. Ward. Maybe some of that turned away because of his age, but what does he do? Two-way presence right away. Great size, good polish, good athleticism to rise up and score in the rim, good shooter. He's already a good mid-range shooter, could become a really good knockdown shooter from deep. The Atlanta Hawks get him at number 7. Number 8. Will Richardson out of Vanderbilt. He was the number 10 prospect coming in, so a little bit of a swing for a Pelicans team that's got a lot of talent. But this feels like a move. Let's talk who Richardson is first. Good basketball player. Thrives in the mid-range. Really good on the defensive side of the ball already, and he fits in well in a system. Why does that matter? Because it's a team that's starting to be built around Andre Schlorbeck at the 2 guard and Ty Outlaw at the 1. The Pelicans really need somebody to fill in on the wing. This feels like it might be an admittance of defeat on Raison Adels, who they took about 4 years ago, 4 years ago. He hasn't really panned out for them, for the Pelicans. They drafted Baron Hunter a couple of years ago. He's more of a rim-running 4. You've got Simon Beneman at the 5. This is a young basketball team, and with Will Richardson, they get a bit of a guy that can kind of flex between that 2 through 4 at 6'7", good size out of Vanderbilt. Let's get to number 9. That's the Portland Trailblazers. They really need something to build around. They're going to start out with Corey Lewis, 6'9" forward, out of South Carolina. Played right next to Kaleem Ash-Freeman a season ago. Straight line athlete. Really good two-way starter upside if his shooting continues to develop. That's the one knock on his game right now, but he's got great athleticism, great ability to score off the bounce. He'll give Portland at least something that they can try to finish out with. Rebounds well for the position. They need that. This is, again, a team with very few things that are going to be built around. Corey Lewis starts to be the first thing that are there. Good defensive playmaking, decision-making, but really good pick here, I think, for the Portland Trailblazers, Corey Lewis. One of those guys that falls in at that starter upside. Number 10, the Dallas Mavericks. They're going to take Marcus Lambert. This was a guy, Marcus Lambert, who I circled in my draft board to say, if you can find a way to get him, you go out and get him. Because great score, shot 37% from deep, doesn't really create on ball, but he's 6'10", can play the 4, can play the 3, maybe in small bursts, small ball 5. Good defensive player on the wing. He's a guy that you can slot in and say, we think we can get, Dallas, who's trying to build something, 15 to 20 minutes out of him as a rookie, as a 3-and-D wing, and the upside here is as a really, really good 3-and-D wing at the NBA level for a Dallas Mavericks team that's trying to figure it out. Number 11, this is the last pick where we're going to leave you. Brian Mathis goes to the Pelicans. This is a question mark pick for me. Mathis, a little undersized, 6'3", kind of frail in size, reminds me a little bit of Trae Young on the defensive side of the ball. He's a good pull-up shooter, real burst downhill, ton of playmaking, but the defensive side of the ball, not consistent, which sounds a heck of a lot like Trae Young. Didn't really play a lot of tough competition in the MAC with Ohio. We'll see what happens there. But again, the interesting part of this is that you signed 2 summers ago Ty Outlaw to a 5-year max extension. The New Orleans Pelicans did. And so is this a sign that you don't know that Ty Outlaw is the future point guard here for New Orleans? You had a couple picks in the top there, right? You took the wing just a second ago in Will Richardson. Now you're going point guard with Brian Mathis. Don't know that I love that pick, but it's more of a, if he develops, maybe Ty Outlaw becomes a tradable asset, $30+ million a year. I'll tell you, it's hard to deal point guards in this league because there's a ton of point guards pretty much locked up. Very few championship caliber teams that have not figured out a point guard. There's a lot of all-star caliber, a lot of all-NBA caliber point guards. Ty Outlaw's on the lower end of that. But Pelicans, a team that's loaded with young pieces, they get another one. Looking to try to make the bump now next season. We'll see if they're able to pull that off. Full draft recap and full draft board is all available over on OS. But how about the Golden State Warriors? Where do they end up in this whole thing? Well, they have 2 picks in the second round, baby. Let's get to them. The first one they take is Zayden Tavares, forward out of Texas. Tavares is a good defensive piece. And that's, if you're trying to figure out what is Golden State trying to do, they need wing defenders. They need point-of-attack defenders. That's where they got exposed in the playoffs a season ago. That's really where they struggled against the Chicago Bulls. So they go Zayden Tavares with their first second-round pick out of Texas. Rangy wing, can play the 3, 6'7", so can slide down a little bit to the 2. And the second pick, they go with Malik Jackson out of Michigan. really good defensive player. Again, I don't know that either of these two guys slot in right away as starters or even role players. Definitely not starters, but as rotation pieces next season. But Golden State is saying we need wing defenders, and we think that Malik Jackson can do that. Big, physical guy, can play the 3, can play the 4. He's more of a bigger forward. Tavares more of a smaller forward. But two guys who profile as, mid-season. It's January. It's the dog days of the NBA season. We need somebody to defend. Tavares and Jackson can do that. The Golden State Warriors pick up those two guys in the second round. Again, full recap over on Operation Sports. But the Raptors, the big swing. Alexander Swift, the 5th, the first round and the first overall pick, headed to Toronto in a surprising NBA draft. We got NBA free agency coming up next.